Audio is speeding. It's going so fast.
Before embarking on our week-long getaway, I wanted to read something to get me in the traveling mood. I thought, what was the last book I read that made me want to leave my bed? And I came up short. But I did remember one book in particular that did give me a sense of wanderlust, and I know I'm not alone because it apparently did that to everyone. People we meet on vacation. So I looked up books written by Emily Henry, and since I had already read this one along with Beach Read and Book Lovers, I thought, well, I might as well read this one, that I've never seen the cover of before, and for some strange reason it's published by a different publishing company. Penguin. Seagull. Yeah. And the titles seem similar, but don't they all with Miss Henry? They're all about the same, it's the same story over and over. You and me on vacation. There's that word again. Vacation. Perfect. That's what I was looking for. I expected just the right vibes. I ordered it, and the size of the book annoys me, since it's shorter than the rest of them. And the paper quality is not my favorite. I don't like it. It's not as floppy. It's stiff, whereas the others are... Look at that flop. We love a floppy book.
Wouldn't that be more quality?
No, it's too stiff. I mean, if I hold it like this and flop it, it's kind of like that pencil trick where it's like, ooh, the rubber pencil. It's not as floppy. It's not the same. Do you see that difference?
So it's a gift then.
But then I started to actually read it, and something felt familiar. I got a sense of deja vu, a sense of, oh no, what have I spent my money on? And I realized these two books are the same UK version. This is the UK version. Why? Are they different titles? Different book covers? Why? They look like different books. Do they not look like completely different books? People we meet on vacation, you and me on vacation. So I thought, okay, all of hers are about vacations. So I was like, perfect. I want to read about a vacation before I go on vacation because I want to get in the vacation mood. Under in the fine print when I ordered it, it said UK version. I was like, why is it here? This is the land of freedom. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club. Yes, today we are talking about our vacation again because if I only take one vacation every 3 to 5 years, you best believe I'm going to milk that experience for content. During our road trip, we decided to visit a few bookshops along the way. We did vlog the whole trip, and that vlog will either be up by now or coming in a future video, so either way, subscribe. But to start, we stopped in Ojai to visit the largest outdoor bookstore. I'm gonna say that again. Bart's Books. We started browsing in their outdoor section, as in outside of the door that leads to their inside outdoor section. These books outside the bookshop itself were marked at 50 cents each, and they even had an option to just drop some change into a box if you came across a book you'd like to purchase after hours. Pretty cool. The first book that caught my eye was this one. I'm holding it like this because there's no jacket. Leap of Faith, Memoirs of an Unexpected Life by Queen Noor. Queen Noor. At first glance, I actually thought the title was Queen Noor. Noor meaning light in Arabic. So I grabbed it off the shelf and was first surprised at its pristine condition. The pages were not dusty. The book itself is missing a dust jacket, but I normally take those off while reading anyway. And the contents inside had me more than interested. This is listed as a non-fiction biography of a woman named Lisa Halabi. Her accomplishments and experiences as an Arab-American woman who later finds herself as Noor al-Hussein, Queen of Jordan. I don't read non-fiction books very often, and I read biographies even more seldom than that. But when I picked up this book in particular, I couldn't bring myself to leave it on the streets of Ojai for such theft of a price. Sold. Next, we ventured inside the outdoor bookshop, and to our disdain, it was just as hot. I wasn't sure if my dizziness was from the excitement from all the books or just straight heat exhaustion. Could go either way. But I quickly found a few titles I couldn't leave behind, and it helped that I didn't know the price of anything other than that first 50-cent book. See, that's how they get you, because unbeknownst to me, these books were full price, despite being used and secondhand. One in particular was a bit damaged. One. But when the gentleman at the register rang me up, my social anxiety didn't have the energy beyond the heat to dispute the prices, so I just paid and left. This is not what I ordered, but I'll eat it anyway. In silence. Please don't spit in my food. When I'm in secondhand bookshops, I like to skim the shelves, not only for authors I'm familiar with or in certain genre sections, but I also like to look for publishing companies I have had a good experience with in the past. It's like when I see a film is made by A24, I know I'll probably enjoy it and it's going to be weird. Now, I know Book of the Month is not a publishing company itself, but I've had some good experiences with their picks, other than Darling Girl. So I tend to gravitate toward books with that little logo at the top of their spines. This one. This one, a little damaged, but caught my eye, not only because of that logo, but because of the title as well, How Not to Die Alone by Richard Roeper. Not that this is a big fear of mine in particular, since I do love being alone sometimes, and to put that burden on someone else, let's not go there. Point is, I read the inside of the jacket, and the way this book describes dealing with senses of worth and anxiety spoke to me. Quote, "For years, Andrew has worked a thankless public health job, searching for the next of kin of those who die alone." End quote. I appreciate books written about characters you may not come across in your own life. Quote, "For 20 years, Andrew has worked to keep his heart safe, forgetting one important thing, how to live. Maybe it's time for him to start." End quote. Since I was on the beginning of a journey where I felt like maybe leaving the house was a form of beginning life, I was sold on the idea of reading this book, so I bought it. Next, I ventured to the other side of the bookshop and found yet another BOTM logo with a familiar author, The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. Now, I haven't seen this book much on social media, but I did read The Secret Life of Bees when it came out many, many years ago. So I am familiar with her work and love her storytelling. The Book of Longings is her fourth fiction novel and tells the story of Anna, the wife of Jesus, the Jesus. Now, I realize I may offend someone somewhere by saying this, but when I saw this considered historical fiction, I thought the word historical was misplaced. This is fiction. IMO. But I was intrigued nonetheless to read a more feminist perspective of this particular best-selling story. The Bible. Then, after roaming the shelves and constantly thinking that this cannot be good for all these books, this heat, this outside concept. What do they do when it rains? We found a little room, enclosed, a little mirage in the desert. It read, Classics and Collectibles, and I had to investigate further. Here is where I found my final purchase, just one big old textbook-looking chunk of poems by Emily Dickinson. We briefly discussed dear old Emily in a previous video, and I do have some of her work in my personal library, but I once in a while just love to add books one may find on an English undergrad syllabus from time to time. Just to have. That's gonna be a big thump. That's all I bought at the first bookstore on our journey. Then we found our way to Monterey, spent the night in a quaint little hotel, and piled back into the car the following day to drive all the way to San Francisco. The land of art and acceptance and wild seagulls that just swipe your fish and chips right out of your hand while you're walking around the fisherman's wharf. True story. Here, along with the famous Golden Gate and the plot twist of a road that is Lombard Street, we found yet another bookshop that was as charming as it was stocked. Fully. City Lights bookseller. I have to tell you every time. City Lights booksellers and publishers. That's right, they publish books as well. I knew I wanted to purchase a specific set of books from this particular bookstore. I wanted a nonfiction to stay on trend with my last nonfiction pick, something I wasn't just going to buy and let collect dust on my shelf. So something I was actually interested in. I wanted at least one fiction because, hello, superior. And then I wanted one book that was published by City Lights, since this is the one place I could purchase their published book from their bookstore. So here are my picks. And the receipt is still in the book. I spent $47.63. A little expensive. For the nonfiction, we had to venture down into the depths of the downstairs area.
Close to the ground, huh?
Yeah, here we found a number of displays from music, religion, women's studies, and witchcraft. Take a guess at where I stopped to peruse witchcraft. This little blue beauty caught my eye. Waking the Witch, Reflections on Women, Magic, and Power by Pam Grossman. The back of the book describes it as an exploration of the world's fascination with witches, a celebration of witches past, present, and future, revealing the critical role they have played and will continue to play in the world as we know it. Part cultural analysis, part memoir of the author's own journey on the path to witchcraft and self-empowerment. I was into the concept of this book when I picked it up, for many reasons. One, for its exploration into the history of women and to negate the underlying taboo. We no longer fear being burned at the stake for simply being a woman with thoughts in our heads. I was sold. Next, I went back upstairs and browsed a more familiar section of the bookstore, the literary fiction section. I found a number of books that caught my attention, but I couldn't decide on what I wanted to remember as the one book I got from this particular bookstore. Then I got to the M's, Murakami to be exact, and we all know how I feel about this man. This man, look at him, he has a face you can trust. I've said that before. I saw a book of his I had not yet read and couldn't leave it there. Was this choice safe and unadventurous? Yes, a little bit. But mind you, I was on vacation. I needed a bit of home to carry around with me. And so I chose Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami. A bit of home. I didn't even have to read the back of the book to seal the deal, but I did anyway and was glad for it. We have all of the classic Murakami ingredients he uses to make his hearty stew of a novel. Parallel narratives, multiple interesting and contrasting characters, callbacks to old Hollywood and music, a monster type of character that can't be entirely explained, but that's probably the point. I'm not sure if any women go missing, but I'm counting on it. And in the end, we have an exploration into the human mind and all of its eccentricities that make everyone and no one special. Murakami. And last on this little list of a vacation haul, I chose a book that was published by City Lights booksellers themselves, The Unknown Poe, an anthology of fugitive writings by Edgar Allan Poe. This little pocket book, very little, is exactly as the title describes, an anthology of writings by Poe about his own poetry and works that give an extra little insight into his madness. The book also includes essays exploring the relevance of Poe's work in European literature. Poe. Yeah, they gave me a bookmark. It says, welcome, have a seat and read a book. And this little chair. It's a picture of the poet's chair they had upstairs in the poetry section. And then I bought a little postcard that says, books, not bombs.
You bought that?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if I actually purchased it or if they just gave it to me. Because I said this too.
Oh.
But I didn't see it on the receipt. Those are the only 2 bookstores we were able to find en route into our travels. We then went to Lake Tahoe, which didn't have much other than your occasional Barnes & Noble, and then Vegas, which had mostly naked people, but no bookstores.
I'm sure they have some.
Probably like porn bookstores, which, you know, I wouldn't have minded. I read porn. There were a few highlights of our trip last month, and you'll have to watch the vlog to see for yourself, but one of the things that kept me relatively calm throughout the whole journey, one thing that kept the travel anxiety at bay, at least for the most part, was reading. Having the car filled with books as much as it was filled with sunscreen and suitcases. The entire back seat was just books. Books I brought with me and books we bought along the way. The bookstores kept my mind occupied with a destination ahead, a goal in mind. And this might sound a bit insane and overbearing to some viewers, but if you live with anxiety, travel anxiety being one of your more predominant flavors, you know how trapped you may feel, how uneasy it is to leave your comfort zone. But having these stories with me, listening to one of my favorite stories in the car and sharing that experience with Pablo, it all helped. I recommend a vacation. I recommend reading while on vacation and actually enjoying your time away from yourself. I recommend finding new bookstores and exploring parts of them you don't normally find yourself in, like the nonfiction section. I can't necessarily recommend all of the books discussed today because I have not read them yet, but if you have read any of these, please share your opinions down below. Also, feel free to comment a book you read on vacation or a bookshop you found during your travels. I'd like to make this more of a thing, finding bookstores, talking about them in these videos, sharing experiences with fellow readers, blah blah blah. Alright, that's all I have for you all, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you're not already. Today's shout out goes to Cara Birchfield. The audiobook we listened to on our trip was a graphic audio, so we had to listen to it at 1x speed. And I honestly thought it was going to drive me insane, but it wasn't so bad. Since it was a graphic audio, I appreciated the production quality and Pablo appreciated the different voices to keep track of the different characters. But I agree with you entirely when it comes to normal audiobooks, podcasts, anything else. It's gotta be 1.5 or more, preferably more. Alright, I'm off to go dispute a hotel charge on a credit card bill because we didn't know inn and spa or in-room jet tub were terrible red flags while booking hotels for our trip. It's partly my fault. Lesson learned. Stay lost, keep reading, go on vacation, goodbye! Should I keep the UK version?